Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Magic Library. Today, I'm joined by my good friend Brytwing, here to talk to you guys about Ascents. We want to talk about what an Ascent experience is like, why you should go, the things you can do at it. Because I mean, I personally haven't been to one, and I really wanted to know every detail that I could about it. But the best I could do was, ask people small details here and there. So I thought I'd get the chance to talk to Brytwing, who has actually been to all three of the Ascents so far, and get his feedback on that. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. So tell us about yourself, sir. Excited to kind of hear what's going on.
Yeah, my name is Bryson, or Brightwing in the Discord. I've been playing Grand Archive for a little over a year now. It's been a very fun journey. I'm just simply in love with this game.
Wait, so when did you
The
start
best
then?
game I played.
Like, was it
I
during
started
DOA?
pre-launch.
Pre-launch,
Yeah,
pre-launch. Okay.
so pre-launch. So just barely. I think it was March of last year. So yeah, I had my complete play set before the first product even hit the shelf. So it was a good feeling.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
That means that you were
Yeah,
also in the Kickstarter then, right?
So I missed the Kickstarter a little bit, but eBay helped with that, so I got there in the end.
That's good. Good. So you've been around since like basically the beginning. You've been playing for a long time. You have a lot of experience playing, competing in events and stuff. I guess I just want to just jump right into it because I'm genuinely so curious. Like, of the three Ascents you've been to, what was the best one for you? Like, what was the best one in your experience?
Yeah, so every Ascent was very unique, and I love each and every one of them for different reasons. I'd have to say if I had to pick a favorite, it would be Ontario, and that's simply because I won the Jumbo Merlin card. It's hard to
True.
top that. It's massive. It's beautiful, and it felt like a good accomplishment. But every single one of them has been a blast, all for different reasons.
Hmm. So I guess we'll go through them in like chronological order. But
Sure.
you want to just kind of tell us about what your experiences were at each one, starting with
Yeah,
Houston?
certainly. Yeah, just for Houston it was the first Ascent, so it was mostly the hype of meeting all the Discord friends. You know, we've been building up this community all through Discord. I didn't have a very strong local scene at the time. It's great now, but at the time it was mostly just talking to people on the Discord, and making friends through that way. And it was just get to meet everyone, and it was just a blast. We started off the night with what we called the lake dinner. It was like 20 or more people. We all went to one place to just have dinner and meet up. And hey, finally, it's a person instead of a profile picture on Discord, and it was a blast. Very fun for that reason alone.
Yeah, and for those of you guys who don't know what the lake is, if I recall correctly, it was a channel in the main cord where you could farm for coins or a currency. And they actually released a shop at the time where you could get promos and other like promotional items via your farming of the currency in there.
Yeah, it was the promo dungeon guide.
Yeah, that was a classic. Classic.
Yeah, very good time.
Yeah, a 20-person dinner is that's crazy. Like,
yeah, it was kind of chaotic, but it was very worth it. Very fun. We all walked down to the venue together, and it was just a good time.
awesome. So, we've talked about the before, all the getting into it. It's like, what was it actually like competing in the event? Because if I recall correctly, you competed at Ascent Houston.
Yeah, I did compete at Ascent Houston. At the time, I was a bit more casual, so I mostly just had just a fun deck. I think I was on Ensoul Rain at the time, and I ended up dropping after round three. I went 0-3 or 1-3 or something like that, and I ended up dropping to kind of just more hang out, do the side events, do the Path to Silver at the same time. So I did compete, but not super hardcore. I kind of didn't get more into the competitive side of GA until a bit later down the career. So I was mostly just there for the vibes, the trade nights, the meeting all the friends.
Yeah, for sure. So I remember actually in my interview with Noel, he was telling me that you were basically the only reason he was able to compete in silver.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure if that's true, but I did help him. He was in top 32 and didn't have time to do his fill out, so I helped him fill it out a little bit. That way he was able to complete it in time.
And that's really
It
awesome.
was
That's
all
like,
handwritten, so it was pretty long and
yeah,
tedious.
I heard he was telling me it took him like 30 minutes to write out the whole thing. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, there was really cool. There was like just a table of people hanging out all day, filling out those forms, and they were all helpful community members. So Mitch ended up helping me complete mine. It took me like I don't know, probably close to 2 or 3 hours to start to finish to get my 100,000 points, but that table was just full of Path of Silver collectors. You could see every single card in the game just by looking over there. It was neat.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like that's an experience you can't like replicate easily. Like I'm sure we'll see it now with Ascent Worlds being a silver available Ascent, but I just can't imagine what it'd be like to walk into a room of hundreds of Grand Archive players who are all there just because they love the game and they want to compete and hang out. And then you just walk over to the silver players and you're like, oh my God, I literally see my dream card on the table, guys.
Yeah.
And there's 4 of them.
Yeah, it's impressive. When they were doing the submission, they had to lay all their cards out, and it was just like you were looking over the table, was like, what in the world? That is every card right there. It was cool. Yeah, they were even doing like they broke a case of first ed in the break room late night, one of the nights, and just opening up cases.
Just hanging out with the boys.
Fun. Yeah, it was a good time.
Definitely a cool experience. So you competed in the main event, and then you dropped. You competed in silver, and you hung out with some friends. Were there any side events at Houston?
There were side events, yeah. So there was a main big event which I didn't have the chance to participate in, unfortunately. But that was like the scrubbed out of the event. That's where all the all the competitive players still went to try to get a chance of redemption. There was some great prizing. I believe it was first ed boxes. Could be wrong about that, but it was decent pricing where people would want to play into that. And then there were smaller events that were just to grind out the event tickets. That way you can go to the Ascent store and purchase playmats and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's a really good point that you bring up with the Ascent store and the tickets. So like, what is kind of like like how could you explain this to someone who's never been to an Ascent? Like if you were to explain the ticket system as well as like the Ascent store itself.
Yeah, so the ticket system, you get it depends on the event that you're in, the side event that you're in, but for most of them you get anywhere from 50 to 100 cent tickets for a win. And then at 400 tickets, you can turn them in for a playmat. They also have some other rewards. Like at Ontario, they had the Silvie beanies, or Houston, they had the Silvie beanies as well. And then you can turn them in for packs and stuff like that. So they have their own little economy. That runs, but mostly it's for the playmats because there's the Ascent store exclusive playmats, the champion ones. So that's what a lot of people were there for, grinding them.
And so I guess talking about Ascent tickets, something that's colloquially used in the community, whether it's in Discord or Facebook or anything else, is Silvie Bucks. And a lot of people are like, oh, what are Silvie Bucks? Silvie Bucks are Ascent tickets. They're actually the same thing. Right. It's just a lot of people haven't seen them physically don't really know the difference between them. So you have some with you?
I do.
Oh, that's so helpful. Yeah, so we can show people in the video here like what are Ascent tickets / Silvie Bucks. They're quite literally Silvie dollars.
They are quite literally Silvie dollars. They are on an actual Grand Archive card too.
Are they can textured as them?
These were. They are, yeah. They're
That's fantastic.
Just a normal back of Grand Archive.
Exposing myself as never having been to an Ascent.
Hey, you don't know unless you go, right? But yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's really cool that they have like their own built-in economy system. So if you scrub out of the main event, or if you're just not really interested in participating in the main event, there's tons of side events. There's other things for you to do as a player, as a collector, as a community member, and I think that's just a fantastic. It's a fantastic event that's been put together by Weaves of the Shore and anyone else who's working on the organization. So when it comes to Worlds, it's going to be Weaves of the Shore as well as TM32. So we talked about Houston and sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the closing ceremony at Houston, the vibes of that, because that was when they announced Diana and Arisana and all that kind of good stuff, and the vibes in that room when that was being announced was insane. It's another part of the hype piece. Is at the end of the day, after all the fun and festivities, you get to sit down and see what's in the future of the game.
True. Closing ceremonies are always fun. I actually completely forgot about that too. I watched the closing ceremony for Ontario on the stream, but I kind of forgot about that with Houston because it's just been such a long time.
Yeah, it has been a long time, but that was the first ever closing ceremony, so nobody knew really what to expect, and it was good.
I can imagine that blew everyone's minds. Like, whoa, we're getting a new champion. Did they show the art and everything?
When Diana showed up, and they did show the arts of the level 2s, I believe. But when the Diana showed up, the room lost it. It was great.
Yeah, they're like, oh my god, dark-skinned waifu has a gun.
Yep, white hair. Oh man.
Yup, it's the anime collector dream right there.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's see. You went to Houston. I guess the next thing is like, what was it like going to Auckland? So there's a couple factors here that I want to kind of ask about. So one of them is, what was it like traveling halfway across the world with your cards? What was the vibe like there? You know, because it's a different community. It's in the Oceania area. You know, what's it like playing in Auckland versus playing in North America, for example? And then the third one that I want to go over is like, what made you want to go to Auckland?
Yeah, for sure. So the travel part of it was interesting. I have basically never left the country. I've been to Mexico and Canada, and that's about it. So I've never been on that long of a flight before or anything like that. So it was definitely a good experience. I would for sure do it again. But being on a plane for 14 hours is like it's tiring. It's you would think I'm just sitting there. It's not that bad. No, it is tiring. You want to just get back to the hotel once you get there and take a nap. But it's worth it. And then let's see, what was your other question after that part?
So the next question was, I guess I kind of want to skip ahead to the third question, but it was,
Sure.
what made you want to go? Because like that's a really big
Ascent,
commitment, especially as someone who hasn't like left the country before, like left the continent before. Like that's a really big commitment to just be like, I'm gonna go to Auckland.
For sure. The Ascent was the biggest draw. I was also looking for a vacation spot at the time anyway, something to, just hang out and explore. And my sister was interested in going as well. So we just went as a vacation. So the first half of the event was, or the trip was going to Ascent. And then we stayed for about a week afterwards, just exploring Auckland.
That's super cool. All right. Now I gotta know, what was the coolest thing you did in Auckland?
Ooh, cool.
Besides the event. Besides the event.
Besides the event, yeah, that's fair. Probably Hobbiton. It was worth it just to see it one time. Hobbiton is like the set where they did the Hobbit movies, and it was definitely worth seeing.
That's super, super cool. Is it like really like commercialized or?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
For sure,
Yeah. Most of it is all just made just for tourists and stuff like that, but it's still cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. This is one in a lifetime things you can actually go see in person.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I guess I'm curious, like, what were the vibes like there? Like, did you have a chance to go in any locals while you're there, or was it just the Ascent? Like, how did it feel playing in a room of like, I guess, less North Americans? Like, we all have our own vibe depending on where you're from, whether you're from like Cali or if you're from like Pacific Northwest or if you're over in like the East Coast and stuff like that. Like, everyone has their own kind of vibe. So I guess, what was it like there?
Yeah, the vibes were all good. Everyone was great there. I did meet some friends up from the Discord as well, which was probably the only time I'll get to see them, unfortunately. But it was good to see them. The other side of the world, basically. The meta was a lot different than I thought. I actually made a bad meta call, which was interesting. There was a lot of decks that I didn't expect, especially like on Soul Lorraine. That was like massive over there, and that was kind of dead because we had FTC, and it was just kind of nobody really played that as much. Yeah, and they played it with like an aggro Lorraine variant, and it was very cool to see, and it caught me off guard. So I actually didn't perform as well as I had expected because I was playing the North American meta, and then went to Auckland, and it was like very different.
So what deck did you bring then?
That before. Wind Allies.
Wind Allies. Well, that would make sense. Yeah, Wind Allies into Flame Sweep was not the greatest.
Yeah,
it's a little bit painful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and at that time, everyone was mostly on Merlin in North America, and I had some like Tech 4 Merlin, so I had a good Merlin matchup, and then I did not have a good Fire Lorraine matchup.
I can imagine. Yeah, aggro Fire Lorraine kind of go burr.
Yeah, it just kind of got slapped around. It was cool.
So tell me about the side events there. Like, did you compete for the entire first day? Like what did you kind of do there?
Definitely, I competed so there was no Path of Silver, so the main focus was playing. I did compete the full day, all the rounds on the first day. I didn't make top 32. I missed it by like 1 or 2 wins. So on the next day, I played in the side event, and their main draw was the sealed kits, as well as they had a big side event. So they had the main big side event, which I did reasonably well at. I didn't win or anything like that, but the winner got 1,000 of those Ascent tickets, the Silvie Bucks, and then they had the side events with the sealed kits from the FTC.
So
they had drafts just running on demand.
With these side events, like, how do you actually get into them? Like, is it like a cash payment? Is it Ascent tickets entering, or like how does that work?
Yeah, so you have to have a side entry ticket, which are another physical card. They got Lorraine and Sylvie on them. I unfortunately don't have one sitting in the corner handy, but they are a physical card that you have to get. You can either get them with your package, depending on what tier level you got, either the VIP. I think the VIP is the only one that comes with it. Or you can just buy them at the Ascent store. I think it's like $20 per ticket. Most of them needing 2 tickets or something like that. But yeah, it is a physical ticket that you have to get.
I see. And so do you think the side events are like worth it in terms of like monetary cost?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think it's only getting better as it goes too. In Ontario, the main side event pricing was crazy. It was each win you got was like 3 event packs and 100 tickets, which is just like I was just opening event packs like no tomorrow. It was crazy, but I definitely think they are worth it, even just for the experience of playing. And now with Omnidex, you can earn Omni points at those side events, which is a nice little bonus as well.
Yeah, I guess this is a side question. I never thought about it until now, but if you
Yeah.
win any side event stuff, what are the Omni multipliers on a side event?
That's a good question.
I think I
I'm
had to
not
ask
sure
Sil
because I
about that
haven't
'cause
looked
I
at
don't.
it.
I realized I
I
made
know
the
that
video
they're
talking
decently
about
high.
that stuff, but I never even thought about side events being like different
Yeah.
from Ascents.
Well, I know one of my biggest event points is from the Scrubbed Out event in Ontario that I won. And it's like it's either my biggest or they like real close to my biggest one. So I know that they're reasonable, at least. I think they're probably like on a local level at least.
Pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just if
Yeah.
they do it at local levels, they just multiply it by the number of people competing in it, and it
Yeah.
ends up
Just
being
like
quite a bit in that case.
64 or more players. Yeah.
I mean, that's a massive locals.
Yeah. A lot of points.
So you went to Houston, you went to Auckland, and you went to Ontario, which was right after I believe ALC released. It was the second week after ALC released.
Yep, that sounds right.
So I know that you won the Scrubbed Out event. You won that gigantic Jumbo Merlin. Tell me about
Big Merlin.
what you brought to Ontario. Like, I'm curious of what your decks were for day one, what you used in the side event, and then like I guess just the overall experiences. Because I heard that there was a trade night at Ontario, but it was not Weaves that organized it, but someone in the community, right?
Okay, I actually didn't make it to the trade night at Ontario. But usually the trade nights are a good time. It's very casual. It's kind of just like show up, look at each other cards, see if you want to make any trades, or fulfill deals that you've made on the Discord beforehand. So I imagine it was similar, but I didn't go to that one particularly. But I did go to the Houston one, so I imagine it was same sort of feeling. For the event, I brought the same deck for both events. I was on Water Tony Allies. It was something that I had used in the TTS tournament before the event, so it was something I had tested a little bit. The main event I did pretty well. It was like 5-3 or something like that. All of my losses for the entire weekend were to Merlin, to Fire Merlin. so I had a bad matchup into Fire Merlin, and I knew that going into it. But I was like, it's a new set. People aren't going to be on Fire Merlin, right?
Fire
They're gonna be
Merlin's like the
playing with
bane
new
of your
cards.
existence at this point.
Yeah, yeah. And now I have a jumbo one, so hey, it worked out, right? But yeah, so the only losses the entire weekend were to Fire Merlin, which is interesting. And then I won the side event. I didn't do any of the other side events because I was focused on that main one. That was a long event. It was like 7 rounds, so I ended up doing that for the whole day. But they had on-demand tournaments where they were just, I think it was like up to 8 people, and you just play and see who won. And they did sent tickets for that one, and they had a kind of a crazy rate. You would basically they'd win the equivalent of 2 playmats just by winning one of these side events, which was pretty crazy. So they you had to pay for entry, of course. I think that one was just one event ticket, so it was like just the $20. But the return on that is pretty good. 2 playmats if you win.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I guess another thing for reference, you can sell and trade your Ascent tickets. Like you can sell and trade the
Yeah.
Silvie Bucks to people. And so if I recall correctly from what I've seen in Discords, the going rate is usually like anywhere between $10 and $15 for 100 Ascent tickets, right?
Yes, yeah, it's always higher at the beginning of the event, and then it kind of goes down and settles back at that, $10 per 100. And at Ontario, they actually had the Jumbo Merlin for sale at the Ascent store, and it was like an insane amount of tickets, and only one person did it. It was Lee from the Discord. I don't know if you guys know him, but
Mr.
it
Number
was
One Ascent
well
Houston Path
deserved.
of Silver.
Yep, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he number one silver, but he actually ended up doing that. So there, you can buy and sell the tickets. I ended up selling some of my tickets at Ontario as well because sometimes you don't need all the playmats. You just get the ones for your favorite champions, and you're just like drowning in playmats. But there's like I said, there's like an economy for them too. So it's easy to sell your tickets if you just needed to go that route.
Yeah, and I mean that sounds like so like I guess that just adds a lot of value to going to an Ascent, right? Like every if you look at it in like terms of raw monetary, like every 100 tickets you have from your entry ticket just pays for like, let's say on average $12 out of your ticket cost or your travel cost or whatever it is, right? If you compete and win in side events, you get more tickets, you can sell your tickets. Like the actual return on Ascent is not immediately shown, but when you can explain it in this way where you can get like a testimonial from someone like you or someone from Noel, it just makes going to Ascent seem so much more viable, right? Like cost is always going to be a big factor. Traveling is expensive. Housing is expensive. Food is expensive, right? But with how much availability there is to like sell things and recoup your costs, Ascents just seem like fantastic trips to take.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I always try to buy the most amount of tickets, so like I do the silver and the steel because the entry rewards you get for them are, I think, worth it as well. You end up getting the tickets, getting side events, the deck boxes where they apply. So I think just even the
And the
entry
promos.
rewards you get and the promos, yeah, even if you were just to sell those right off the gate, it's you makes up for a lot of that cost as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that alone is like fantastic. You basically just given me like 10 reasons why I should always go to an Ascent.
Yeah.
I feel like you should be a GA You should be the Ascent spokesperson. You've been to
Yes,
all three Ascents, and then in your most recent one, you came out with a huge win. I think that's fantastic. So I
yeah.
guess on top of those things for like why you should go to an Ascent, why you should experience it, like what do you think your like top 3 reasons to go to an Ascent are, or that you would tell someone who, let's say, is a new player, right? If they were like, hey, I just started playing Grand Archive, not really sure if I should go to this Ascent or something, like it seems cool but I don't really know, like what would you tell them?
Yeah, the number one reason to go is the community. Because even if you don't do great in the actual events, it's just a blast. You get to hang out with like-minded individuals. They're all here for one purpose, which is this game. So you can learn a lot from your other players, and it's just a good time. There's a lot of after dinner parties that go on where it's just like, yeah, we're gonna go and get dinner, celebrate a victory, or just celebrate that we had a good time. But the community is always the number one reason to go. It's just the vibes are amazing.
Number 1 is the community. All right, what's number 2?
Ooh, number two is just the unique swag. You're the first person who's able to get those, those playmats of your favorite champion, or the promos for, the hasty messengers were super cool promos, and I believe it's fireworks display coming up for the next
Yeah, I'm so
circuit.
excited for fireworks display.
Yeah, it looks great. And then I guess the next reason to go is for the competing aspect. If you enjoy competing in on a competitive level, it's a great place to do it. You get to compete with the very best. The rewards are fantastic. You can get those top 32 uh, you know promos, the Tide Diviner, or I think the next one is the Exercise Curses. Just another great reason to go.
Yeah, and on top of that, with the exercise curses replacing the Tide Diviners and the new NQP system coming in for nationals, if you do manage to day 2 an Ascent, you'll be getting an exercise curse promo, which actually acts as a 4-point wild card, which means you can use it at any region's nationals to compete. And I think that might be one of the best value reasons to compete in Ascent. So
Yeah.
first of all, wild cards are extremely rare. Generally, they were historically only given in the European regions, I believe. But now that wildcards are like a little bit more accessible and a little bit more available, this means you might actually have the opportunity to compete at multiple different nationals across the world if you have the invites and, of course, the ability to travel.
That change is huge and is super good change. Yeah, because they did give you invite cards for winning top 32, another one of them, but they were just like the standard card. So having a unique wild card for this is amazing. I believe at Houston the invite card was wild, um, but this one's worth more points, and it's fantastic change.
Yeah, since they changed the system before, it was like as long as you had an invite, you could play at 2024
Yeah.
nationals, which I actually competed. because a friend gave me their invite.
Yeah.
But you know, for 2025, it's going to be a lot more competitive. It's going to be a lot tighter. So having the opportunity to have wild cards for Ascents on top of having store championship and regional invites is going to make, hopefully it's going to make things more, like, a little bit more accessible, but also like very, very competitive at the same time. And we want it to be competitive because it is supposed to be the second most prestigious event in the world of the year, right? But you also want it to be like, you know, we don't want 20 people to show up. We want like a decent room of people to play and compete for it.
I think they found a pretty good balance. For this season already, I only need one more invite card, and then I'm secured in for the Nets. So I think they did a fairly good job.
He's so good at GA, guys. He's good at GA. He goes to all the events. He's well spoken. He's handsome. He has it all. He just has it all. Yeah, so I guess we've kind of covered pretty much everything. We talked about your experience with Ascents, all three of them. We talked about things like side events, the self-economy of Silvie Bucks and Ascent points. We talked about the greatest part of all, the community, hanging out with your friends, getting the chance to meet people. But the one thing that I think a lot of people forget about is you have to travel for these things. And so in this case, I want to ask you, what are your like travel tips for traveling to really far places, traveling with your cards, traveling with your collection, all of the above?
Yeah, definitely. So for my international travel, there was no Path of Silver, so it was only Steel. So my goal was to pack light on the cards because everyone knows Grand Archive cards and other TCGs are just expensive. So what fits in one deck box is sometimes thousands of dollars. So I packed real light. I just packed the necessities. I packed my deck, side deck, extra sleeves. Don't want to be left with a sleeve check and then not have any extras there. So I brought playmat, dice, just the things I needed for the physical gaming, and it all fit in one small subsection of my suitcase, which was nice. I wouldn't have any tips of how to travel for Path of Silver, the massive collection. I believe you have a video with Geo helping with that one, so go watch that video. That couldn't be me. But so for traveling for like more local events, because I did travel with my whole collection to Houston, I brought a dedicated suitcase for that, and I just kept it in binders. So I had, I think, 3 binders and a box of cards for like the CSRs and stuff. That I brought with it. And it's just kind of standard travel tips. Don't let them leave your site, that sort of thing. It's definitely doable. I wouldn't ever check any of your cards. Always keep them on your person and your carry-ons. Yeah,
I mean, those are fantastic travel tips. Really, I think the most important thing, and the reason why I ask everyone that I've been interviewing for their travel tips on this is everyone has said the same one thing that always overlaps, and it's don't check your important cards. You can check your bulk. You can check your random play sets of like the commons and uncommon, like whatever, man. Check them. But do not check in all of your expensive cards because they're not in your hands. They're not on your person. And if you lose, if they get lost, it is going to be heartbreaking to you. And none of us want to see that happen to any of you guys. Please, please, please practice good travel safety tips. Please, please. I don't want to get to Vegas and someone be like, bro, they lost my luggage. I'm like, so what was in it?
Yeah.
All my CURs, my entire CSR collection. I lost, like every Square Live collab card I had. It's like, bro, please.
Yeah.
Not like this.
Yeah. I think the last thing I have on the travel too is they sometimes TSA will check your cards, but it will be okay. It's just kind of funny when they're just like flipping through all your things. They have no idea what it is. But I've heard lots of stories of people having their cards pulled off for TSA inspections. Sometimes, or one time, he was able to talk it out of it, but they wanted him to open up a sealed product, and he was just like, "It's literally factory sealed. We don't need to open this thing, right?" But they will sometimes pull your cards aside for inspection, going through TSA.
And the big one is if it comes in a deck box and they pull you aside, just very politely ask them to be gentle with the cards. Be like, these are really expensive. They're valuable to me, and I just want to make sure that you treat them with like care. And for the most part, they're gonna be reasonable. They're not gonna be like, "Wow, I can't believe you're talking back to me." And so just like, "Hey, whatever you need, I'll comply. Just please be gentle with my belongings," and it'll always turn out well. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me today and talking about your experience at Ascent. Like, I'm actually even more excited for Worlds than I was before because I forgot about all these little details. I forgot about side events. I forgot about Ascent tickets and Silvie Bucks. Like, I've just been in like gotta be a caster mode. like
Yeah,
studying
I
up on
can imagine.
everything. So it's just really nice to have the chance to kind of sit with you and with other community members to talk about the game, talk about why we love it and stuff like that. So is there any last remarks you got?
Go to Worlds.
Yeah, go to Worlds. You guys heard it. You can still buy a ticket. I believe there are still available tickets for Path of Steel and Path of Silver at the time of recording. So make sure you join
Yeah.
us and check out all of our other videos too. There's lots of great people that have been on the channel. And yeah, thank you guys so much.